Hey friends, this is Malki Assad and welcome back to the channel. I've made multiple videos about the USMLE Step 1 exam, including my Step 1 experience, how to study for Step 1 after it became pass-fail, how to best study UAL. But in this video, I'm going to focus on how to avoid failing on the Step 1 exam. The first tip I have for you is to use less study resources. I'm sure you're shocked by this advice and you're probably asking, how can I pass the exam or avoid failing the exam if I'm using less study resources? And the reason is you don't want to overwhelm yourself with so many resources without focusing on one. I've seen so many students who go and read these long experiences of applicants who passed Step 1 and scored high, and they start collecting so many books, question banks, video resources, and at the end of their studying period, they haven't studied any of these resources very well. The key to passing the Step 1 is focusing on one or two resources, mastering them, knowing the information inside these resources, and then going to the exam. So especially that now Step 1 is pass-fail, I recommend you focus on one or two resources, take a deep dive into these resources, understand everything in there, master the information in there, and then go for the exam. And if you're asking what are these resources that I can use, I recommend you use UWorld and First Aid, and maybe more resources if you had time. But first, focus on mastering UWorld and First Aid. And if you don't have time for both resources, maybe focus on UWorld because it's questions, it's a better learning strategy, and this is how the exam is questions, not a book. So if you don't have time for both UWorld and First Aid, maybe use UWorld, especially that UWorld has explanations while First Aid is a review book. So in summary, focus your time on one or two resources and don't overwhelm yourself. The second tip to avoid failing the Step 1 exam is to do assessment tools. I'm shocked that I continuously see students who go to the Step 1 exam without doing an assessment tool. Assessment tools are extremely valuable because they can predict the future for you with certain margin of error. So assessment tools are not 100% accurate, but they can give you an idea of how much you'll be scoring on the exam and whether you'll pass the exam or not. So I highly recommend you do assessment tools, including MBMEs, UL self-assessment, and not necessarily a day before the exam because that will not help you. Do assessment tools way ahead of the exam day. And if you see that there is a problem, you try to fix it and continue to do these assessment tools until you feel very comfortable with passing the exam before you go to the actual exam day.